At the Adventurers Academy, Wendelin von Benno Baumeister is preparing for his classroom introductions, spending the last 7 years in solitude, keeping his distance from his families and others, hoping not to start any secession issues at the home, and thanks to this isolation, his social skills are less than adequate. Luis Yorande Auriella Ofelebek, known for teaching martial arts. Ina Susane introduces herself. She's the third daughter of one of the Margrave Bleitroder's retainers, being the instructors of the spear. When it's Wendelin's turn, he states his name and position in his family, keeping it very short and brief, with not mentioning any extraordinary talents about himself. With the rest of the class seeing it as lackluster, the teacher passes out party registration forms, telling them to decide who their training party will be by next month. At dinner, he feels even more isolated, eating alone. Luis and Ina recognize that Wendelin is the only magic practitioner on scholarship, being higher or just as good as any high-ranking adventurer. Another student named Erwin sits with them, going further that the magic instructor saw his ability and guesses that he would know just as much as magic as he would, or more, reminding them if they get close to him, they'll be set for life. Since most parties in adventure school tend to stay together, all the other students are looking at Vel, thinking the exact same thing. Erwin has a proposal for the two of them to join with him, with Luis having an issue joining with him right away. But Erwin explains he's assuming that Vel is trying to gauge them to see if they're worthy to join him. The three of them happen to be the top spearwoman, martial artist, and swordsman in the academy. Finding it impossible for him to turn down such an offer, Luis drinks his milk and agrees that it's a perfect idea. As Vel's about to get up and try to start a conversation with them, using the spices that he's made, 3 other students come by to their table to tell them that their plan isn't going to work because they're going to recruit him. Hearing them laugh makes the boy reconsider trying at this moment. In the classroom, their teacher reminds them that the students that can't pay their tuition need to find the gain to sell, with this being the situation that Vel's in. The teacher reminds them to form a party, seeing that he could be very dangerous out there for the students. This further disappoints the boy, seeing that he doesn't have anyone to party up with. Luis and Erwin see his face and misinterpret his feelings, with Erwin saying if they can't bag more than him as an individual, why would he want to join up? With Ina not sure that that's what he's thinking, when it's time to show what the students have caught, their group caught the biggest haul so far, with them complimenting each other's abilities. When it's time for Vel to show what he has, he makes a rather large commotion, bringing out multiple beasts from his bag. He brings so many onto the table that they can barely hold them all. The other students see this and feel very disappointed to ask him to join their party, not thinking that they could gain his respect. One student mentioned second and third sons and daughters would never be given succession rights, with them all leaving. The boy receives a large bounty, and when he turns around to offer to buy the rest of the students their meals, no one is there waiting for him. In the dark, the 3 of them are very sad, remembering what the student has said to them, agreeing that no matter how strong they were, they wouldn't be able to inherit their family dojo, since they were the oldest. It also didn't help that they had a little bit of magic, becoming easily stronger than the rest of their family, with their fathers normally avoiding them. Ino can't take it, loudly hitting the table, with her hating the idea that they're not able to live out their dreams because of when they were born, motivated to turn in lots of gain, so Vel would notice them. The 3 go deep into the forest one day and find themselves surrounded by a pack of wolves. Vel senses his classmates in danger and decides to help them, thinking that they might want to be his friends afterwards. The group becomes overpowered by wolves, with Louise being in danger. Erwin defends her, but loses his feeling in his arm. Just then, Vel puts a barrier around them, floating in to save them. In the infirmary, the group apologizes for getting him in danger. Erwin comes clean, admitting that they did this so the boy would notice them. With this news throwing Vel off, Luis tells him how great he is and how they can't compete with him. Ina says the same thing, but is still motivated to have him join their party. As Vel's about to talk them out of this, their teacher comes in to tell them that Duke of Bleitroder is hosting a banquet for the scholarship students. The party talks about the banquet, with one student commenting how there's no reason for them to be excited, seeing how this party is for him to add Vel as one of his retainers. But the other students are not wanting to hear this, so they decide to go off and buy some nice formal clothes. At the banquet, the Duke's retainer informs him of some information, with him instantly making his way over to see Wendelin. Ina sees him walking towards her and tries to introduce herself, with him directly walking to Wendelin. The two of them start their formal introductions in front of everyone, with Wendelin being of nobility. The Duke reminds him of how rare it is for the Bellmeisters to make their way into the capital, with Wendelin reminding him of their financial situation in a very non-disclosure way. The Duke is asking to speak with him in private. Everyone gets very disappointed. Wendelin asks the Duke if he could bring along his party members, shocking the 3 of them. Inside the residence of the Duke, he sees the court magician, Burkhard Ringstadt, being the master of his former court magician. Alfred. Burckhardt tells him the rest of the story of Alfred's passing, this being in the enchanted forest near the Baumeister residence. With Alfred being of the top 5 magicians in the capital, having more magical ability than him, Vendelin's magical bag, saying that it reminds him of his disciple Alfred's same bag, with him asking if he was able to complete his final wish. The Duke asks whether he stole the bag, with Burckhardt explaining that that would be impossible. Since the bag belongs to Alfred, he can only transfer the ownership of the bag to someone of equal magical power. Vel confirms that he was Alfred's student. The old master asked him about his final moments, explaining he released holy magic into his body, shocking them, with the boy breaking down, with Burckhardt shocked that he would tell a boy to do such a thing. The boy returns with his bag, with all the supplies from his last journey. The 3 students apologize, seeing that they were rather selfish for trying to use Vel to improve their own lives and standings, with Vel doing the same thing, not knowing exactly what the Duke had planned. In the end, the 2 sides form a party. The Duke comes out to reward them, with the bounty of returning the supplies for the 2,000 men's journey, being 1,000 gold coins, or 1 billion yen. Plus, Alfred also had an estate, so they're going to be transferring it over under Vendelin's name. Soon later, the party's on a flying ship, going to Vel's older brother's wedding, with Ina questioning if it's okay for them to join them. Louise comes out in a very ridiculous oversized dress and crown, this being so nobles would want to hire her, with the 2 students ignoring her. Ina asks which nobles are coming. Vel explains that he's going to be marrying into the knightum, so some nobles should be there. Erwin is scared of flying ships, with Burckhardt laughing at him, but reminding him magical ships don't crash. He then senses some dark energy, smiling, saying that's unless a dragon knocks them over. The passengers are panicking, asking for what's happening to the ship and what they plan to do. Inside the quarterdeck, Burckhardt explains, the only way to defeat it is by using holy magic, pointing out there's only one person that can solve this problem. The boy freaks out, reminding him he doesn't have the experience, but Burckhardt points out how his master would have done this job no problem. Hearing this motivates the boy. The boy generates all the holy magic in his body, and he's able to defeat the bone dragon, but his master is still not satisfied, telling the boy to pick up all the dragon's bones and store it inside of his bag. Soon after, Burckhardt introduces himself to an old party member who turned into a merchant, leaving the kids with him, noting how it's going to be very hard for them to do any shopping here. When they land, 100 knights surround them, with the captain of the guards telling them that the man that defeated the dragon needs to come with them, taking Vendelin to see the king. With his friends leaving him to head to his brother's house, the king grants him the 6th rank of a baronet, giving him the twin dragon medal. Erich and the rest of them talk about what this means for their family. Given his rank, the king now created a separate line of succession, seeing that he's a higher rank than his father now. The party gets very sad for a moment, thinking that he's going to quit being an adventurer to be a noble, but their teacher informs him he has no land, so there's no need to worry, but does point out there are major problems to come up next. The dragon's pieces are extremely valuable, with 2 sides arguing about the budget price, not knowing how much to reward Vendelin, with the church, military, and the Empire's budget corresponder wanting to win his favor. On the way out, a man with a spear is hoping that Lord Vendelin will hire him as a retainer, but his show of skill looks more like a street performance. On the wedding day, Vendelin notices that his older brothers looked bummed. When he goes to ask them what's wrong, they inform him that their family hasn't given a gift for the wedding yet, with this being a bad sign. In higher society, it's either showing that the family is broke or doesn't approve of the wedding, with both being very bad. Kurt gave a letter to Paul and Helmut, with them already realizing that it was written by his wife under his name, seeing that brother Kurt or their father can't read or write, but the letter tells them to purchase a gift for Enrich's wedding and put it under his name, with them being rather confused, seeing that they're making a salary of a soldier, since it's a status symbol to show how well off a noble family is, with it bringing shame to the family. Normally the Duke would actually loan them out the money, but they can only receive this money if they appear at his formal events, while also giving him a quality gift. Hearing all this, Vendelin decides to pay for the gift. The wedding concludes. Burckhardt's merchants come back. The merchants come back with what Vendelin asked for them, with the merchant wanting in on his business if it succeeds. This makes him rather excited, with him now able to eat miso whenever he wanted to. Normally the process takes a year for fermentation. In the dining hall, Vendelin serves Enrich's family some miso products, with it becoming a hit. With him wanting to show his usefulness, Cardinal Hohenheim calls in for his granddaughter, Elise Katharina von Hohenheim, informing her on the person he's chosen for her to marry. The next day, Vendelin comes in to receive his baptism, with the boy thanking him, seeing that only a select group of people are able to receive such an honor, so he gives the church an offering. When it's time to be served their tea, Cardinal Hohenheim's granddaughter comes in to introduce herself. He notices her magical power, with her also possessing holy magic, Elise is regarded as a saint, being above the nuns. The boy asks if she's going to be a clergyman, but the cardinal laughs at this, wanting her to marry and be a normal girl, mentioning how many families have come to offer her hand. Vindalin compliments her, offering his own hand as a joke, but laughs saying he's underage, and the best he could do is engagement. The laughter stops, with the cardinal offering his granddaughter. He comes back to explain the news to his party, with them not seeing the problem, even though they just met, with Vindalin having to explain Western values of love, with people here normally just seeing this as business. His family explains they barely met before marrying, with him realizing there's no point in trying to explain this to nobles. The family dresses him up as a clown, so he's able to walk the streets in public, but the man from the king's castle recognizes him, making a rather loud commotion, with other soldiers coming in to offer their services. He teleports them out, and Erwin jokes how he should just make him his retainer so he can avoid all this mess. Vindalin agrees, shocking Erwin. Vindalin teleports back to the church, grabbing Elise, wanting to talk in private. He wants to gauge her idea on the idea of marriage and about their engagement. That night, Ina and Louise are shocked that Erwin was able to become Vindalin's retainer, with the two of them out all day shopping, trying to get fancy clothes. He rubs it into them, how it's going to be his job to protect Vindalin, mentioning how he can put in a good word so they can be his retainer as well, loving the idea of bossing them around. That moment, Enrich and his wife want some extra hands for dinner, with this getting Louise an idea to become Vel's wife so they would be a higher rank than Erwin. They realize given their position, they can't be his official wife, but they can be his mistress, with this being very common among the rich. The cardinal sees great potential in Vindalin, with the boy bringing an incredible amount of money on their business meeting, with the cardinal deciding to test them further. That night, Vel gets an invitation to have dinner with Elise, and the two of them go out for an engagement present, with it costing Vindalin 30 million yen. Elise comments on how he picked the ring because of the magical properties to make her more useful to him, but he interrupts her to tell her the reason he picked out this gift was because he thought it looked good on her. Vindalin finds the two of them very similar, with both of them having to live up to unrealistic expectations. When he puts the ring on her, magic begins to flow around the carriage. The butler goes in to report on the boy, finding him to be rather worthy, saying that the boy passed. And this is where we're gonna leave off in today's video. And if you like today's video, here's another one just like it, so go check it out. This anime is gonna be broken down into multiple parts. And if you also like the video, why not subscribe? I'll be uploading daily videos just like this one, so I'll see you next time.